talked about social media, how effective.
Let's try to figure out how to spend when we're being down.
We don't have to worry about that. All
But the way it hits, like.
July 2nd, 1995, I'm at her 40th wedding anniversary. She's a saint. She is a saint. She will tell you that. Her brother-in-law came up to this group of 25 years old. By the way, how is your oldest son this year? He turns 40 in November. Oh, she was 5 months pregnant, and obviously she's the same.
Yes, because he's certainly not getting what he wants.
I think my daughter's going to retire before I do.
Yeah, I thought about that.
Pushing back.
At a lot higher rate, probably also.
Okay, I think we're back at it. Okay.
Okay, so what I'm proposing is to make a countywide service award program that will be administrated through the Human Resource Department. I'm proposing to eliminate the current hospital-only identified gifts. Those have been pens, pen sets, and then a pen set with a notebook that, to be honest with you, nobody really likes. We would give employees lapel pins, certificates that we will make up in the Human Resources Department at no charge, as well as a ceramic plaque. It may not be exactly like this, but this gives you a sense of what it would be. I have some examples of what other styles might be. It would be customed with a county logo, the name of the employee, and the numbers of years of service that they would be being awarded, as well as a higher end thing such as this clock, again, with a plaque with the employee's name on it, and the years of service. This is, I think, probably for a 25-year award. And so you'd get something at 5, something at 10, something at 15, something at 20, 25, and then probably we would stop at 30 years of service. I think that the annual budget, based on my projections of how many awards we'll need, will be in the neighborhood of about $6,000 a year for both sides of the house. In addition, I would propose that we take out a full-page ad in either the Penny Savers or wherever is appropriate, and break out the categories of years and list the employees' names so they get public recognition for their service to the county. And I think we can accomplish that entire thing for in the neighborhood of $6,000 or $7,000 annually. Better than half of that is already being spent at the hospital now. So what we're talking about is an incremental expense of about $3,000. And I can pass these around so everybody can get a chance to take a look at them and give a sense of what the other plaques might look like. I'm proposing to use Hackberries in Warsaw as the vendor. So I'd like your to discuss that and let me know whether you give my approval to go forward. So some of that's obviously unbudgeted. Correct. Well, the hospital side is already budgeted. Now I'm in a position where I have to order new stuff anyway, because I'm out of pins and I'm out of gifts for the hospital anyway. So there's no point in proliferating the old, in my view. So do anybody have any thoughts about moving forward?
I make a motion, we put that little investment into our employees, show them that we care and go forward with doing it.
This is Luann. Can you hear me?
Thank you, Donna. All right, second on the update agenda. Oh, I'm sorry.
We have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion then? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I guess there's one other thing on the service award. Would you like to expand the audience for this to this group, for example, or persons who serve the county on boards and other things as well? I currently do not include them. So the board of managers, for example, the board of supervisors, for example, the civil service commission, for example, the traffic safety board, for example, and those type of things, those people are not recognized for their years of service.
I don't think they need a plaque or a clock, but maybe if we could, someone is tracking that for a certificate or recognition at some level at their board, it might be nice to have a central record keeper.
I'm gonna hear it on my phone, on speaker. So Dan, do you need to appropriate money into your budget for this then for 2022?
Yes, I think I'm probably going to have to. Well,
Luann,
because of the personnel stuff,
I can hear you.
I'm probably going to wind up having enough money. But I'm sure we'll figure it out at the end of the year. Not going to be much.
Yes. That's a reason why we were stopping at 30 years.
No, we would continue to give them certificates.
We'll have a big old party.
Yeah, we're not talking about giving them more plastic.
So you would still, they would still get recognition,
Oh, yeah.
they just wouldn't get as big of a height.
Yeah, and we could continue giving them stuff for as long as you want. I mean,
Right, as long as they're here, they, right. Okay. So we will. Something to consider, you know, to go past the 30-year mark and what we would like to see them get.
happy to do that.
Okay, we will look into that as we will continue with that, okay, Luann? You're welcome.
Is there a limit that you can give for taxpayer money? Is there a limit? Is there anything?
And how much they can have.
Right, I don't know. I'm just wondering, how people on the committee going, oh, thank you, you're welcome. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I mean. Yeah, but that's outside gifts given to, yeah, but.
This is almost compensation.
Anything
Yeah, it's just.
preventing us.
Payroll. My uncle got a 6-foot tall grandfather clock smoke when he got.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, government. I don't think Janice, I know what you're thinking, but I don't, like, it's not gonna be extravagant, we're only talking about, $10 pins and maybe something a little nicer, the higher, more years to rack up, but.
Yeah, I'm thinking that the actual annual awards individually will be less than what we're currently spending at the hospital, because we're going to buy in bulk, which is going to give us a price break on the lapel pins and things. And these things are not terribly expensive. And we've been doing it in the hospital for a long time without issue. I don't know why one side of the house has been getting something and the other side of the house is not, but that's been a bone of my contention. I'd like to remedy. So, okay. I thought I'd provide the committee an update into the current CEO, CFO search that is currently underway at the hospital. Last week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we had marathon interview sessions for 3 CEO finalists. We had 25 people selected from all kinds of different constituencies interviewing the 3 finalists. And those interviews went from about 10 o'clock in the morning till about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We had members of the hospital board, members of the med exec committee, senior management, physician leadership, a lot of different groups. And we concluded those interviews on Friday. I'm currently in the process of gathering feedback from all 25 people who interviewed these candidates. And we're going to try to land on a recommendation for the number 1 and number 2 candidate and bring that to the board of managers to look at, and then come to the board of supervisors and ask you do you want to interview, how do you want to proceed, and go forward from there. So I wanted to let you know that process is moving forward. With regard to the CFO search, you may remember that we put that on the back burner thinking that Merlin was going to be around for a while. His company has issued us a notice of 90-day out. So he's leaving in June. So we had to move the CFO search from the back burner to the front burner. And we're in the process of vetting candidates right now. I do not have interviews scheduled for them as of yet, but that's essentially where we are. And I'll be happy to answer any of your questions.
Okay, because I know Supervisor McCormick and I have had several conversations in regard to how this hiring is done. Because we've been confused about who does what. Is the CEO vetted by the board of managers and then they bring it to us? Is that the normal way it goes? The CEO is brought forward through the board of managers, and then we
The final candidate, right?
we do the final. Is this how this works?
Yes.
Because did we do that? Because this is where I get confused when we had the issue with Joe's contract. Was he fully vetted and brought to us, or did we do it on our own? So we need to be consistent in what we're doing. And I don't understand it. I haven't understand the flow of everything, of how things, I've been trying to figure it all out through all this going on, what the flow is. We put the board of managers there, and then we step back and we let them do their thing, and then they bring forward their recommendation, and then we vote from there. Is that the way I look at it? That's the way it's supposed to be.
If I may, we have filled a number of department head vacancies in the last 24 months or so. I'm thinking about highway planning, veterans, et cetera. And there's been a selection committee appointed to vet those candidates, to interview those candidates, and to authorize a negotiation to commence to bring them on board. And nothing was final until the Board of Supervisors approved that selection and approved the salary that was negotiated. I view the CEO as a department head. And we have a selection committee that was established. We created an interview and vetting process. And I think that just like any other department head, that will come to the Board of Supervisors for their review, consent, and approval, unless you tell me differently. And that's why I wanted to bring it up today, because I don't want to get ahead of myself if the board wants to do that. Now, the candidates are not all local. One of the finalists is out of town. So if we were to bring them in for an in-person interview, there's some travel expense associated with that. We could certainly do it by Zoom. I mean, technically, we could do all of you could participate in a Zoom interview session with them if you chose. If you want to see their resumes, I have them. Some of you have already seen them. Your desire, whatever you like. I'd like to be as transparent as possible.
I'm not at all arguing, but I'm a little confused because I believe when we hired the Veterans Services Coordinator or Director, there was a committee from supervisors that did the interviews, was it not?
No, well, there were, I think, 2 supervisors on the committee.
Okay, so I'm thinking back, obviously historically, when we hired Rick and then moved on to the one that isn't here anymore. That went camping.
I know with the veterans, and it's probably a little different than some of the other committees. Just the nature of our board makeup, we wanted to ensure that we had veterans on the search committee.
But didn't the Board of Supervisors members lead that interview process?
I wouldn't say that we led
Okay.
it.
I just can't remember. It just seems like there was a committee that got together from us and we brought in veterans to do the interviewing, but we were sort of the lead interviewers.
I don't know if you say that I was the lead or Dan was the lead. You know, the makeup of the committee, we had like Sheriff Rudolph on the committee, we had Judge Dan on the committee. We had a veteran from Arcade who had been on one of our previous search committees, also represented. So we all did the interview and then came back to the Human Services Committee.
Okay.
With our recommendation.
I'm just,
Using the veterans as an example, my office advertised and collected resumes. We vetted out candidates that didn't meet minimum quals. And we brought the selection committee a slate of what we considered to be the top 2 or 3 or 4 candidates. So we did some purging before it ever made it to the committee. And then the committee conducted in-person interviews with all of, I think there were 4 candidates that we considered, 3 or 4. And that decision, that recommendation for hiring went forward to the board after I was empowered to negotiate a salary that obviously needed to be blessed and approved at the board level.
So like this situation though is different because we have a separate board over there. So I was just curious as to who.
there's one.
Dan, are you there? I can.
So I understand where Mr. Buckman is coming from. However, with someone insurance with $30 million payroll in a department without this board having the opportunity to let that individual from a standpoint to make sure that their approach and commitment for that hospital is consistent with our own.
Okay, sounds good.
The Board of Supervisors has a supervisor representative on the Board of Managers. Brian, were you part of that?
Yes, it was.
Okay. But I thought you said they did it last Wednesday.
Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
So you were doing it last Wednesday?
Wednesday morning, I was down here for the board managers part at 10 o'clock.
Okay. Because the other, the one I was on was the highway one, and that was all committee members. I'm not sure what happened with planning, because I'm not on planning.
To give you an idea of who participated in the interview process this week, Again, we did Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, basically the same schedule. Dr. Reagan, Dr. Jim, Brian Kale, Larry Rogers, Dr. Abbasi, Steve Perkins, and Rich Cosmerl, as well as Laura Palucci in the first session. Second session was Dr. Fahey, Dr. Biomi, Dr. Collins, and Dr. Panisar. We then did a tour of the facility. Connie Altmeter, Bridget Givens, Dawn James, Pam Petnott, Merlin Knapp, and Mike Corsamiglia in the senior management group, followed by Dr. Brewer, Dr. Privatera, Dr. Belaya, Dr. Dean, and Dr. Marfatia in the last session. So that's a total of 25 people who vetted these individuals. Each one of them have been asked to fill out a form. It's basically talking about their impressions, strengths, and weaknesses, as well as racking and stacking the three candidates in priority order. And we're in the process of gathering that information and consolidating it into a report that we will give to the Board of Managers.
Did that report come to us?
Sure. Whatever you want. That's why I'm bringing it to you. I want you to tell me what you want me to do.
Well, first of all, Dave, can you provide the resumes of the finalists?
Sure. Be happy to. Would you like me
Your
to?
work experience?
Would you like me to disseminate that to the entire Board of Supervisors?
Yes, please.
Okay, I will do that as soon as I get back to my office. Look for it in your email.
And so how do you guys want to let them continue with the process that they're working on? And then bring it back to us?
It probably should also be said that you approved the hiring of a search agency for this position and the CFO. Their name is Systems Personnel. And because of the nature of this job, we needed to do some direct headhunting. We needed to go in and recruit. And these folks are skilled at that. And they went in and found multiple candidates for review. And with the candidates that they identified, we narrowed it down to the three finalists that we brought in for interview. Some of the candidates that they identified were outside of our price range or below our minimum skill requirements or experience requirements. And then, quite honestly, some backed away. So we will let. I would tell you the answer to that is absolutely yes. With all of the candidates, we had a very candid discussion about the current kerfuffle and the state of affairs of the hospital, the financial difficulties of the hospital, and the challenges facing the new CEO in being successful in their role. I think it was openly discussed with just about every one of these interview groups. And as you know, some of the people that we involved in this are not shy, shall we say, about their views. So I believe that none of the candidates are laboring under some false notion of the challenge. My personal belief. But that's where I think it is. And I think it would be inappropriate not to let them know what they were facing.
I would agree with what you said. Every candidate did have this discussion. Division, amongst the board supervisors, amongst the board managers, and that obstacle was out there.
I can tell you that all three of these people are very accomplished professionals, and you'll see that when you get their resumes. And they all did their due diligence. They all did their homework. They all knew the story. They all saw the videos. They've all seen the news reports. So none of them didn't already know. You know, they had some back channel questions, but, you know, and they're all Western New York based folks. So they know the community.
I have, no matter how I present this, it's not going to go over well. But I still have concerns. It's been brought to our attention that there are members on the hospital board of managers that their ability to serve on that board is in question. And yet they were part of this search. And I don't want to start the search over, but we can't continue to ignore that. And that's not anything, Dan, that you have control over. We can't continue to ignore that. The one person is extremely limited into what they can do by the bylaws. It's contractually. I've heard people say, let's just let this ride out. This is where we end up. And I know this isn't the time for this discussion, but it's got to be brought up. I don't know when the time is for this discussion.
Well, we need to move forward. We have to build the top back down again. We have to start at the top. We have to rebuild. We've got to right the ship. And in order to right the ship, we've got to get somebody up there to steer it. And we can't put off that.
I agree.
If you want to review, like I said, we want to review how we do things, how we look at people on committees or on boards, then maybe we need to do that. But we've got to get this going and get the confidence built back into our people, our employees and our public. We've got to get moving. And then if I look at that on a different day, or how we look at that, and you feel we need to, then that's a separate issue, I think, at this point.
I think we've got to do both at the same time.
Okay, so the three candidates were not vetted by the board of managers. We just reviewed.
I understand that.
So I mean,
Right, they just need to.
you have the same opportunity to interview them. I don't know that that has.
But the one contractually cannot even vote on this issue.
Because that's what my question is it a vote from the board of managers or is it just us? Who at the end of the day makes the decision for that position, for that CEO? Is it just, they can give you your opinion, but we don't have to take it? It's our decision. That's correct.
If I may, I think the equation is going to be a little more complicated than that. Because at some point, someone, be it this board or that board or a combination, are going to authorize me to enter into a negotiation with one of the candidates for the position. I don't know whether we're going to come to terms. And the terms that we ultimately come to, I don't know whether those terms are going to be acceptable in terms of finances. I think that you're going to suffer some sticker shock when the salary that these people are going to command for this job comes before you. So I think that's one level of challenge that we're going to have to overcome. And as you say, we've got to find a captain to steer the ship. If we don't like or can't land on one of these three, we're right back to square one with no leader at all. So we've got some challenges ahead of us, and nothing says that we're going to come to terms with the candidate that we all like.
So then, you have not yet had any discussion regarding compensation packages.
The headhunter, systems personnel, as part of the vetting process, did get numbers from each of the candidates as to what they say their minimum acceptable requirements will be. Obviously, that's not the end of the story, but and I've also done research as to what all of the regional CEOs and all of the various hospitals are getting paid, both in the big systems and the smaller hospitals. So I know, and I will share that with you, what the market will bear for those jobs.
The other part of it is, whether or not retention bonuses
Right, and any, the at-risk compensation issue is still out there, and we haven't actually, we didn't talk money with any of these people yet. I think it was too premature to do that at the interview level. I mean, there's been some preliminary conversation through the vendor, but not by the county. And we're looking at another month before I can even approach somebody, because it's going to take the process working its way through. And then it'll be another month after that, probably before they can start. So we're halfway through the year.
Individual, we're going to need some information.
Right, he's gonna send out, you're gonna send out all the applicants.
Anything you want.
Resumes.
I'll send, I have the salary comparisons, the job descriptions. I think you've all seen already, but I'll send it out again. I have copies of all of their CVs. I have them in print here. I can pass them around if you guys want to take a peek at it now. All of these people are very accomplished people who have held responsible jobs in either at ECMC, the Catholics, Calida. They've all been COOs. All three of them have nursing home certificate. No, they're all, pretty good candidates. If you want to pass it around, guys, take a peek.
Dan, just continue the committee and how they're all, everything's being processed, because now everybody's got to fill in their questionnaire, right? Get
Well,
back in.
Rich Cosmerl has directed me to continue today and finalize today the reports of that 25 interview group. It is his intention, as he shared with me, to call a special meeting of his committee and share the results and move that through his committee to you. So I expect him to do that today or tomorrow, because I think he feels some time pressure.
Is everybody okay with that then? Continue on the way that they're going.
Processes have been in place. It's been there. It's just that recently there was a disturbance and people are questioning the process that has been working its way for years at this time. Because they were upset with the outcome of what's been in front of us the last
So
month.
long, we're doing it the same as we've always done. Hey, does anybody have any other questions on that before we move on to this next?
So just so I'm clear, the direction I'm receiving is to continue exactly as I've described it. Is that correct?
I think so.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
If you need information, anybody wants any information, you can call them. And,
Give me anything you want.
give you what you want.
And if you want to see all the candidates' resumes that didn't make the cut, I'll be happy to share them with you as well. We didn't want to bring anyone in who didn't have a real solid tie to Western New York. It doesn't make sense. Never saw snow before. No, I don't think that's good. Okay, thank you. All right. There's been some questions that have come to my office about when the payments to the departments are going to be made as a result of the new CSEA collective bargaining agreement. There are really three components to that. One is the lump sum, one is the wage increases and upgrades, and then retro. It is currently my plan to have all of those components completed to all of the various groups by the 22nd of April. That's
Right, you have their one-time payment, their new raise, and all the retro. All the employees should be done.
Other than the people in the local law.
But the law
There'll
is
be
that
one more payroll that,
they have to.
yes.
with the exception of the local law, with the exception of employees in Schedule P, which are physicians, some of which are under contract. So either their salary is fixed during the life of their contract, or in some cases, there's automatic escalators built into their contract, or in other cases, they have compensation at risk. So there's really 3 categories in Schedule P. And then the third group are the small CSEA group that is in the supervisory contract, for which we have not negotiated a new contract. So it's not everybody, but
it's,
the overwhelming majority.
okay.
And as we've talked about before, there are some people who require special handheld analyses because they had feet in both 2 different groups last year. The example I always cite is our deputy highway commissioner, who spent half the year in the bargaining unit, half the year in management. We have to do a half and half for him. It takes some hand computations to make sure that those people are correct in terms of their pay and bonus opportunities. And we know who they are, and Cheryl and I are partnering to make sure that occurs with as least confusion as possible.
Slow and agonizingly, if that's a word, I guess.
But you got to do it to make it right. Okay. And I also want to spend a moment to talk with you about another component of the healthcare of the new contract. Part of the new contract, we agreed that for the former Schedule X folks, we would explore an opportunity to create a new healthcare plan that would be exclusive to them. If you may recall, one of the issues that we were having with those employees is they were complaining that they were having to pay too much for their healthcare. And that the plan that the rest of the county gets, in some cases for free, was really more expensive than they can bear. So the union came to us and said, is it possible to redesign something, still providing a good healthcare plan, but lower the employee contribution costs? And we said, well, we'll explore that and we'll see what we can come up with. And we presented a plan to the union about 2 weeks ago that would lower the family cost of healthcare by about $350 a month, without severely damaging the quality of healthcare. It had to do with moving some co-insurances and co-pays and deductibles, but the core of the healthcare plan remained the same. Now, the target for that is only those individuals who were formerly in Schedule X. So it's a closed group of about 70 people. And of that 70 people, only a handful were family participants anyway. So we brought that forward to the union. Whether the union agrees to do that or not, I don't know. But I wanted to make you aware again that that's happening in the background in case you hear about something. And again, it's a very small number of individuals that this is targeted for. We can't expand it beyond that group because then we wind up with an adverse selection problem. And that's not going to work to our advantage. So let you know that that's going on. I'm partnering with my fellow department head in insurance to make sure that goes smoothly. And so far it's been well. And Kyle Hitchens in our vendor as well. So just to let you know that that's going on. I also want to let you know that the annual report for the HR department is published and been disseminated and is out there for your review at your leisure. And we have the civil service report for March on file. And that's all I have.
Any questions for Dan? Okay. And the only thing we have left is Jennifer has something she needs to.